Rarely, a piece of media has such an emotional impact that you simultaneously feel insignificant, included, and inspired. Nier Automata, a pseudo-sequel to a cult spin-off game, masterfully explores a story as broad as humanity itself with incredible precision.
Enemies destroyed.
Many initially dismissed this seemingly shallow anime game starring sexy androids, but this misdirect is just the beginning of how Nier exploits your expectations to present a greatly emotional story. In this Bayonetta meets Evangelion journey, Automata examines what it means to be human from a completely non-human perspective. If it wasn't obvious by now, this video will be riddled with every possible spoiler. If you have yet to play through this game, take this as my strongest recommendation. It's not that long by JRPG standards, and is now available on PlayStation, PC, and Xbox. Plus it's on sale for half price all the time, but is truly worth its MSRP of $59.99 US. What distinguishes Nier from most distant future sci-fi narratives is that it's not a cautionary tale about singularity and a robot uprising. Although we see the machines and pods gradually become sentient, this is not the focus. There's no struggle of what makes a robot human. Instead, it asks the question of what makes a human human, and it does this without a single human in the entire story. This allows the game to take a step back and examine humanity from a completely unique perspective. Is it our self-awareness, our emotions, our art, our governments, religion, war that make us human? All are addressed throughout the game and ultimately lets you decide for yourself.
Glory to mankind.
Through its game design, music, story, and overall themes, Nier Automata is able to explore humanity in a way that can only be done through an interactive medium. Before diving deep into the lore, let's get some of the game design out of the way. In addition to the signature smooth Platinum combat, the most impressive design feature is the contextual implementation of nearly every aspect of the game. Whether it's to mask the hardware and budget limitations, or to give purpose to the game's mechanics, everything makes sense within the context of the world. The HUD and upgrades are physical chips installed into the androids and can be adjusted or removed to customize the player's experience. The fast travel is not just a disconnected teleportation system, but the character's actual memories are uploaded into their servers and then re-downloaded into a new sexy android body. The fact that it is always daytime is addressed with a simple side quest informing you that the Earth's rotation has stopped. Even all the fish and weapons have brief bios that explain their place in this world. Hacking plays a major role throughout the story. The act of hacking is visualized through a twin-stick minigame that involves exploring servers and shooting defensive firewalls. All of these seemingly extraneous portions of the game have a surprising payoff in the final face-off. When you actually hack a fellow Yorha android, it's revealed where the hacking is taking place. Seeing yourself maneuver through the menu ultimately shows that even the UI is a physical part of this world. The significance also extends to the incredible soundtrack. It wouldn't be a Nier video without at least some mention of the beautiful soundtrack. Keiichi Okabe, composer of the original Nier, was up for the challenge of trying to fulfill the acclaim of his previous work. Emmy Evans was also re-enlisted to provide the lyrics and vocals. Games often struggle with having several vocal tracks because it easily distracts from the story, dialogue, or gameplay. This is solved in the first Nier, and it's perfected in Automata. The numerous vocal tracks are sung in a completely fictional language that combines several other languages such as Gaelic, French, Spanish, English, and Japanese. Contextually, this makes it sound like a dialect that could exist thousands of years in the future. More importantly, however, it allows for the vocals to sound foreign to every player, so they are not distracted from the game. Yet it is still simultaneously familiar enough as they may recognize a few lines sung in their native language. This balance demonstrates how powerful the music is by conveying the pure emotion of the scene without explicitly stating it in the lyrics. Where an already impressive soundtrack goes above and beyond is with the 8-bit versions of every track that play seamlessly whenever you're hacking. Additionally, retreaded areas never feel boring as the themes evolve with the overall story, side quests, and combat. And of course, I'd be remiss if I failed to mention the choir comprised of the development team that joins in the moment you accept help from others in the finale of the game. An additional aspect in which the design excels is with its freedom. The game's director and creative mastermind Yoko Taro has explained his unique philosophy on freedom within games. He claims that having a high level of freedom does not always equate to the sensation of feeling free. Instead, this comes from being able to do something that you previously thought you couldn't. Knowing this, Taro creates a false impression of the limits of the game, so whenever the player goes beyond them, they get a surprising sense of freedom. This is seen with the ever-evolving and expanding map, the multiple joke endings that occur when you go off course, and including choices that are not explicitly stated. Most evident is Route C, the entire last third of the game that unexpectedly happens after the first 2 playthroughs. Instead of a vast volume of quests, items, and map size, a simple change of perception achieves freedom without it feeling like chores. A final design choice that Automata does so well is its seamless genre-bending gameplay. I think a majority of the people were surprised when the first controllable portion of the whole game was an arcade-style rail shooter, and then this shortly evolves into a bullet hell twin-stick shooter without a stutter. Finally, the player is actually introduced to the character action combat that engrosses the majority of the game. However, even this gets shaken up as the perspective frequently changes to top-down or a side-scroller. Overall, Automata could be classified as an action-adventure game, but there are still strong open-world, RPG, and platforming elements scattered throughout it. There are even remnants of a text adventure to balance out the pace. This all keeps the game fresh and exciting, and is implemented so smoothly that it is rarely even noticeable. Personally, I typically pass up on most JRPGs because I'm not a huge fan of the shonen tropes of a constantly screaming masculine power fantasy or the timid high school boy caught up in a sexually charged love triangle. Nier drops the teen drama and focuses on all the aspects of Japanese media that appeal to me: space, mechs, post-apocalyptic cities, kaiju, katanas, sexy androids, existential Lovecraftian dread. Not that the formerly mentioned stories don't have their place, it's just that place has become very saturated.
5012 AD. The year mankind's glorious history came to a sudden and abrupt end.
On the surface, the story of Nier may also seem unoriginal. Humans and aliens using robots to fight a proxy war for Earth. However, where Automata excels is by playing with the expectations of the sci-fi genre, as well as video games in general. Through strategic misdirects, the story is able to achieve a great emotional impact. The first sign that this is more than just a sexy android game is seeing the birth of Adam and Eve. Upon your second encounter with them, the first major misdirect is revealed. The aliens are already dead. This early on, the proposed main enemy of the whole game doesn't even exist. Also, they're straight up penises for some reason, but that's besides the point. Of course, we later discover that not only does the enemy not exist, the humans that you've been fighting for are also extinct. Now, whether you picked up on the hints or questioned this due to your knowledge of the previous game, 9S's reaction is still believable. He was programmed to believe humans created him, and fighting for their protection is all he knows.
We aren't required in this world anymore. Humanity is extinct.
Thinking the story is nearly over with Route B, a trailer shows that there's still so much more to come. The intro credits begin to scroll nearly 20 hours into the game as Yorha prepares for an invasion. New, advanced enemy types are introduced, and the logic virus makes its way up to the bunker. With its disposal, your sense of security fades, knowing that there's nowhere left to back up the android's data. Death, for the first time, feels permanent. And at the story's emotional peak, 2/3 through the game, we see the title card. I can't help but always feel emotional at this part, not just for the loss of a vital character, but for how well directed and acted the scene is. With just silence and the title of the game, it instantly conveys that everything up to this point was just the introduction. The emerging tower brings up more questions than answers, and it feels like there's an entirely new game left to experience. The plot twists keep coming as you discover 9S is really the protagonist of the story. He rapidly unveils all the other misdirects that were established early on in the game. He learns the truth of Yorha being disposable androids created to perpetuate the lie of the human's existence. He learns that they are made up of the same cores as the machines that they've been destroying their whole lives. He learns the logic virus was always set to destroy the bunker and seal these secrets. And of course, after a prolonged physical, mental, and emotional breakdown, he learns the true identity of 2B. Not only were his gods, the humans, a lie, the android he truly grew to love was also a lie. Despite loving him back, 2B, or 2E, was programmed to eliminate the scanner models as they unearthed the truth about Yorha. However, perhaps an even bigger surprise for me was saved until the very end. Once all Yorha androids are confirmed offline, we get a final plea from Pod 042 showing that he has grown attached to the androids he's been watching over. While focusing on the growing consciousness of the machines the whole game, I completely ignored the most utilitarian background characters, the pods. Seeing the inception of them developing emotions and acting on them to achieve the happiest possible ending is such a satisfying conclusion to the story.
That is what we believe.
With an increasingly complex story that spans numerous mediums, the through-line theme of Nier always comes back to humanity. And with a quick scroll through the human Wikipedia page, we can get a better understanding of what separates us from other beings. The most evident is our consciousness and self-awareness. This is obviously explored extensively throughout the game. The androids understand their place, knowing they were created at some point by humans. They were always advanced enough to have cognitive thought and have a fascination with humanity. The machines, however, have gone thousands of years without even speaking, but begin to idolize and imitate the humans. The catalyst of the machines breaking off from their own network and developing consciousness can be traced back to the original Nier, where the spirit of a young boy just wished his robot could be free. This robot took that wish as gospel and eventually grew into an interconnected network of consciousness, recruiting machines and androids alike. The consciousness preaches that emotions are the meaning of life, and many of the machines begin to adopt this view. It is with these machines, having broken off of the alien network, that Automata explores all the other aspects of humanity.
The meaning of life.
Since the machines were never designed to be free-thinking, they do not handle it well. Some question their existence, realizing that they were created just to be destroyed. This understandably results in emptiness and depression. Other machines tend to value beauty, family, philosophy, peace, and hate. They experiment with art, government, and religion, but never learn from their previous mistakes. With every attempt to be human, the machines manage to fail. This happens to the point where it begins to seem intentional. Machines are programmed to eliminate the enemy at all costs, but if the enemy is completely eliminated, then they have no purpose. This paradox leads to self-sabotage, fostering a never-ending war. All of these examples highlight the lengths humans will go through to satisfy their desires. The Forest Knights will do anything to protect their king. The factory machines will purge each other in order to become closer to God. Simone will cannibalize her own kind to become more beautiful. Adam will give up everything just to experience death.
Is this death?
This is not exclusive to the machines, however, as the androids also exhibit qualities of humanity. The motivations that drive us humans are influenced by our emotions, society, religion, money. The androids' motivations, however, are manufactured by their programming. For instance, when an android kills a machine, they are designed to feel the same pleasure they would get from intimacy. This, as well as the belief that they are serving humans, motivates the androids to continue fighting. But with his motives questioned, 9S finds a new reason to keep fighting.
I have one goal now. I'm going to kill every last machine. And then I'm going to kill A2.
The Nier series is no stranger to the exploration of gender and sexual identity. Previous characters have been known to be homosexual, transgender, or intersex, but this is never the focus. The topic is treated thoughtfully, as seen in Kaine. Discrimination for being intersex has affected her past, but it is not an overt and defining characteristic of her personality. A story starring robots is a uniquely palpable way to express the trivialness of gender in human society. Roles are subverted as all of the attacker models are female and all of the scanner models are male. As seen in the Yorha Boys stage play, when male androids were purposed to be attackers, it was a complete failure. Now, it's not clear whether the androids inherit their sexual orientation or if they outright choose it, but attention is never drawn to their preference. And while it is clear that they can develop strong romantic feelings for each other, it is never even stated if the sexy androids have any sexual desire at all. Automata succeeds in the nuance of such a sensitive subject. Another major subject that is unique to humanity is philosophy. Automata is by no means subtle with its examination of philosophy. The opening line is a Nietzsche reference, and a majority of the characters are named after historic philosophers. Now, I went to art school, so trust me when I say there are far more qualified people to analyze Automata's take on philosophy, but it's such an apparent aspect of the game that it needs to be brought up.
I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
The concept of killing God is the nihilistic viewpoint made popular by Nietzsche. It is essentially the rejection in the belief of cosmic order and absolute moral values. This has several applications throughout the story of Automata, most apparent being the revelation that humanity is extinct. To Yorha, humans are their gods, having believed that they were created by them and for their service.
Both the joy of growing up and the agony of being alone.
However, this goes even further as we learn about the inception of Yorha and the Nier Automata concert. It is revealed that a number 9 prototype, which will later become the basis for 9S's personality, finalized the creation of Project Yorha. This includes creating the Council of Humanity and the virus backdoor, which will eliminate all Yorha androids once their mission is complete. This essentially makes number 9 the god who established Yorha and the myth of the humans. So when 2B is wondering if she will get the chance to kill God, she will do it, over and over again.
Better make sure he's actually dead next time.
Cycles are another reoccurring theme that are masterfully utilized to emphasize different ideas. Route B is a highly contested design choice amongst players. However, in a narrative about perspective and empathy, this playthrough is crucial to the overall experience. Knowing everything that will end up happening gives the player a whole new outlook this time around. Nearly every line of dialogue is carefully chosen to be heard again from this new perspective. Not only is there apparent foreshadowing, but also powerful moments highlighting the character's naivety. Beginning from the perspective of an insignificant machine trying to save its perceived brother, illustrates empathy for the enemy immediately. Yet 9S still dismisses the possibility that machines can feel anything.
Doesn't matter how much oil you give him, little guy. You can't make a machine your brother.
With 9S's advanced intellect, we are also introduced to picture books that provide even more perspective and context to the enemies of the world. We build an understanding for why certain machines behave the way they do, and more often than not, it's because they're suffering. Again, the message of empathy is clear, and it challenges you to try and understand someone you may dislike or disagree with. With the retreading of previous playthroughs, Route B is a cycle in itself. This story has happened many times before, and both the machines and androids are caught up in this cycle, fighting a never-ending war based on ignorance.
Brother.
The potential for the cycle to finally be broken is seen with the final ending. Again, we are introduced to a new perspective, this time, however, by real people. We see the encouraging messages from other players all over the world as we attempt to defeat this final challenge. You are then asked to selflessly give up all of your hours of save progress in order to help someone else who is struggling to beat the game. With this beautiful ending, Yoko Taro really achieves his goal of getting the player to at the very least think about someone else somewhere in the world. Similarly, the newly empathetic pods manage to save the parts and memories of 2B and 9S, giving them another opportunity at life. The pods acknowledge the possibility that the same fate exists, but there is still an optimistic hope that they can break from the cycle and live contently. Ending E is also a final and more direct example of killing God. The player is asked to kill the actual gods of the game, the developers, in order to save the characters.
However, the possibility of a different future also exists.
This reinforces what I believe is Automata's main message.
A future is not given to you. It is something you must take for yourself.
The game has you observe every aspect of pre-established norms and philosophies, and ultimately rejects them. Even after focusing heavily on Nietzsche, the game directly calls him out.
Or perhaps he skipped right past profound and went straight to crazy instead.
It asks you not to cling on to one ideology, instead to choose a path for yourself.
It's up to you to decide.
Even more than 2 years after its release, I still constantly find myself thinking about Nier Automata. I hope with this video I was able to articulate just a few aspects of the game that are remarkably executed. Every aspect of it has contextual significance, which is saying so much since the story expands immensely across games, short stories, stage plays, and concerts. The deeper you dig into this world, the more you are rewarded for it. To this day, I am still discovering things about this game that just make me love it more. Without a AAA budget, Automata was able to create such a unique experience that features so many important themes with graceful finesse. After exploring so many nihilistic and Lovecraftian themes through constant tragedy, there ultimately is an optimistic outlook. The final ending truly emphasizes that you are not alone and that you can't do this all by yourself. We are all humans together. The sooner that we take the time to see things from others' perspectives, the better off humanity is. Action is required, and action will never happen unless you take the future into your own hands.
I never quite realized how beautiful this world is. I'm coming, everyone. I'm coming.